Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the CA Media Podcast, the show that allows you to come in your own unique way. I'm the host, Clay Anderson. The show is brought to you by Visionary Minds Public Relations and Media. If you have any media consultations or inquiries, please contact Timmy Reese at visionarymindsny@gmail.com. And she would gladly get in contact with you. So, this episode I'm recording literally um now today. Whenever it pops up in your feed is when I recorded it. So, episode today, talk about transitionings. Um, a lot of people, like a handful, literally a handful of people that's connected to me or within the 7 degrees of separation, um, has like transitioned to the last like 7 days. We had Malcolm Jamal Warner, who was Theo Huxtable in the famed Cosby Series show from the late 80s, early 90s. It was like beginning last week, literally. So, vacation family and went swimming and rip currents, you know, decided, you know, you know, take him, I would say. Um, it's sad that, when you're on vacation and trying to, enjoy yourself and something as tragic as that, swimming can just take one's life. I'm not God, nor do I claim to be, but they said that God makes no mistakes, and I'm a believer in that. He doesn't. But someone such a major soul that was shown on our television screen for almost 40 years, it's gone in an instant. You know, really sad just to hear fathom that news that we, the world, heard just last week. You know, one could sit and like think, why? But that's none of our places, to ask the Lord what happened in reference to that. So, another one, you know, that's happened. Ozzy Osbourne, another guy who, the frontman Black Sabbath, was nicknamed the Prince of Darkness, died on the 22nd of July. You know, he had a long battle with Parkinson's disease. Ozzy Osbourne was like rock and roll, literally for 40 years. You know, you know, Parkinson, you know, also has taken Muhammad Ali almost 10 years ago, give or take, yeah, a little bit over 10 years ago. And It's sad, you know, he was 76. You also had Chuck Mangione, uh, Grammy Award winning jazz musician with hit songs such as Feel So Good on the 22nd of July. He was 84. You know, I love jazz music. If nobody knows, I really do love some jazz music. Jazz music is good for the soul. Like just instrumentals, just listening. Love it. I really love it. Not saying that Chuck was one of my favorite jazz musicians, um, but jazz is a music where you could just like work in the office, like regular 9 to 5, have it on a low in the background. Like one of my first real introductions, I think, if I was thinking of jazz music, was like in junior high school, 113, Ronald Edmonds, and Mr. Krusty used to always play jazz music in his office. He was a guidance counselor at 113. But, you know, that fast forward to like, I think it was around Bishop Hill and listen to like him listen to jazz music. I'm like, my Bishop listen to jazz music, did they? You know, but yeah, so rest in peace. And then we had Hulk Hogan, who is iconic professional wrestling. You think of sports entertainment, you think of one guy, the Mount Rushmore, Hulk Hogan, Terry Bollea, eat your vitamins, say your prayers, you know, the Hulk Hogan commandments. You think of him, and he dying on the 24th of July. I guess cardiac arrest. And I'll share a brief, you know, thoughts on him. You know, a guy, Vince Sr. told him don't ever come back after he did Rocky 3 He was still on. And and then when Vince Jr. purchased the company from his dad, Vince Jr. brought Hogan back in and he beat the Iron Sheik, Madison Square Garden, 1984 of January, and was the longest reigning WWE champion. It still is the longest reigning WWE champion in the WrestleMania era, you know. Um, 1474, that's the record. Hogan held until February of 1988. Headlined the first 8 of 9 WrestleManias, winning 7 of 9 of those WrestleManias. Um, uh, but then he went to WCW, he did movies. He went heel, which means he went a bad guy. Created the NWO, turned the company on its ears, and was their longest champion ever. And then came back to WWE 2020, not 2020, sorry, 2002. Him and Dwayne The Rock Johnson had Icon versus Icon match, WrestleMania 18. And that was like very legendary in itself. Um, WWE Hall of Fame 2005. And him and Sean, one of my favorite wrestlers, had, you know, one of those matches at SummerSlam 2005, you know, and his last match in WWE against Randy Orton at the '06 SummerSlam. And he Hogan was 6-0 at SummerSlam. Perfect. But anywho, he eventually left the company, and then news broke out. He made some racist remarks in the early 2010s. WWE removed him from the WWE Hall of Fame, cut ties with him. Then he eventually, I he guess he done right by them, or by society, and eventually got back in good graces in the WWE. Guys at the 2019 Hall of Fame, and his last WWE appearance, Netflix on Raw, the whole entire WWE universe booed him. As complicated as he is as the person, Terry Bollea, as Hulk Hogan, the character, the wrestler. Um, it ain't no, it ain't no WWE as we know it without him. So, my prayers go out to his family and go out to all the family of the people that we lost this week. And during all of that, I go on Facebook and see one of my high school friends, um, that I met my last year at Robeson at the when my original class graduated, who I met and it was like really like my only friend, my only friend in my last 4 months I was at Robeson, and she was an amazing person, cool people, very down to earth, mellow, um, very chill, and very upbeat. And S. Dot was a friend that was very unique, peculiar, fun, chill, and always had a bright smile on her face, always spoke positive into someone's life, whoever she touched or whoever she interacted with. Um, like we kept in contact after high school, stayed friends. We didn't talk every day, but we would shoot messages here and there, check on each other. She checked up with me when I'm graduating, to my associates and bachelors in the same, and one of our last conversations was like, I think she was trying to get me to like, do protein shakes. That was one of the physical last conversations. I'm like, yo, just send me what you know. Because one of my friends, Angel, she does the protein shakes too. So it was that. And then it was like, wish happy Mother's Day. Because she just recently had a child less than 2 years ago. And then she was also asking me, yo, add my food page. I'm like, okay, cool. Yeah. I support it. Um, it's very shocking just to see her transition. I knew stuff, whatever she shared with me, you know. Um, but it sucks. Sucks, man. This life is like too short, and that's why like this post about, transitioning, we just don't know when it's our time. And it's like really sad. It makes me like want to like really get to understand me as a person and understand my family dynamics, the background, the history of my family, or just me. I just want to know God, and Like I just pray that whenever it, whenever it's my time, that when it's all said and done, my work is done and I can rest and eventually make it to heaven. So yeah, yeah. Just want to make it to heaven. Anyway, so just a brief note that this life is short and we have to do right and live right. There's no second chance. It's what we do in this middle of this life. The middle because we wasn't asked to be born and we don't know when we die. So it's whatever we do in this middle part, it's gonna count. And I just want to hear the words, um, well done, my good people servant, into yen, into the kingdom of God. Those are the only words I want to ever hear in my life. That's the only words that will ever count for me in this life. I pray that I can hear those words. And I pray that someone listening to this podcast can hear those words too. So the family of S. Dot, Terry Bollea, Hulk Hogan, Ozzy Osbourne, Malcolm Jamal Warner, Chuck Mangoni, my sincere condolences. Um, this is a CA Media podcast, the show that allows you to come in your own unique way. I'm the host, Clay Anderson. I catch you on the flip side.